Hey, I'm Randy Mack in Glen Rose, Texas. I have an organization called Living It Up Ministries, and I believe that life is an adventure, and I am in the process of living it up. I want to share a story with you today that's one of those kind of funny things that happens along the way. I bought me a brand new cowboy hat a couple of weeks ago, and I was really excited. It was probably the nicest hat I ever bought. Felt hat, black dress hat. And the young man behind the counter, after I tried it on, made sure it was the right size, he began to work with it and got it all fashioned for me like I asked him to, and it looked great. When I put the hat back on, it didn't fit me quite as good as it did when I first tried it on, and that kind of bothered me. But the young man said, don't worry, because when all the moisture comes out from the steam that I put in there to fashion the hat and such, it'll fit you like it's supposed to. Well, the moisture left and the hat still didn't fit. So just a few nights ago, I was laying in my bed about midnight, thinking about that hat, wondering why it wouldn't fit me like it's supposed to. Did you know you can get on your computer and go to YouTube and learn a whole lot about a whole lot of things? All you gotta do is know what to ask for in that little box up there. So I typed in how to size a cowboy hat, and a video came up, a fella showing on that video how I could, in my kitchen with a tea kettle, promoting and producing the steam that I would need, could fashion my hat and make it fit like it's supposed to. Shortly after midnight, I'm in my kitchen. I've got the tea kettle going like I'm supposed to, and here comes that steam. And I grabbed my cowboy hat, that new cowboy hat, and I began to roll it around. But the fella on that video had a tool that he stuck inside the hat that as the steam got in there, he would stretch it with that tool and make that hat longer than it was round. I didn't have one of those, but I thought that's not a problem. I'll just get the hat good and steamed up, and I'll just press it down on my head because that's what I want it to fit anyway. So I got that thing all steamed up there, and I pressed that hat down on my head. Well, while I was standing there, my son, who's spending some time with me, unbeknownst to me, came around the corner and said, "Dad, what are you doing?" I looked at him and I explained what I was doing, and he had the funniest look on his face. And he said, "Well, Dad, it's 12:15 and I'm going to go back to bed." A little while later, I was laying in that bed thinking about what had just happened, and I realized why he had such a funny look on his face. And I guess it could be kind of troubling for a young man to walk in the kitchen and find his dad standing there staring at a tea kettle, wearing his gym shorts and a cowboy hat. Life's an adventure, and I am living it up. You know, a lot of folks I know have family reunions, and most folks that I know have their reunions on the same weekend every year. It's sort of a tradition, and that's the way it was with my family for some time there in Arkansas, southern Arkansas. But some time back, my family decided to start having their reunion, our reunion, on a different weekend every year, and they never tell me when it happens. But that's okay, because I've learned I can go to anybody's reunion and get a free meal. I just eat and leave and let them wonder who I belong to. But when I think about reunions, I think about an old song I learned some years ago, and it wouldn't sing it till I was sure it worked exactly like it says it does. If you will follow this song as I sing it, I promise you it works exactly as it says. Many, many years ago when I was 23, I was married to a widow. She was pretty as could be. This widow had a grown-up daughter who had hair of red. My father fell in love with her and soon they too were wed. This made my dad my son-in-law and really changed my life. Now my daughter was my mother, 'cause she was my father's wife. And to complicate the matter, even though it brought me joy, I soon became the father of a bouncing baby boy. My little baby then became a brother-in-law to Dad. So became my uncle. Oh, this made me very sad. For if he were my uncle, well, that also made him brother to the widow's grown-up daughter, who was, of course, my stepmother. My father's wife then had a son who kept them on the run, and he became my grandchild 'cause he was my daughter's son. Now my wife's my mother's mother, and it makes me blue, because although she is my wife, she's my grandmother too. And if my wife is my grandmother, I am her grandchild. Every time I think of this, it nearly drives me wild. Now I have become the strangest case you ever saw. As husband of my grandmother, I am my own grandpa. Oh, I'm my own grandpa. I'm my own grandpa. It sounds funny, I know, it really is so. I'm my own grandpa. I'm my own grandpa. Hey, I'd love to come visit with you and your group if you have a church meeting coming up, or a civic group, or maybe a family reunion or a corporate event. Life's an adventure, and I like to talk about those things. I do illusions, and I pick and grin and tell some stories along the way and sing some songs. And I'd be honored to come spend some time with you if we could ever do that. Give me a call. Randy Mack. My website is randymack.com. That's RANDYMAC.com. And all my contact information is there. Or you can just grab your phone and call me at 817-454-3386. I'd love to visit with you. God bless you. Live it up.